That moves us to the discussion agenda, starting with unencumbered time. Dr. Turner?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ross. This is the second opportunity for us to discuss revisions to the district's GCLE unencumbered time policy. During our last discussion, we previewed the various versions of options for how those edits could be made. During this discussion, we've proposed some revisions, and so this is an opportunity to ensure the board is supportive of the revisions that administration has suggested that incorporate nurses into the existing policy of unencumbered time.
Are there questions?
Have you guys figured out what you're going to do yet? How we're going to cover it?
Yes, I'm sorry, Ms. Odom?
I remember the prior discussion, there was an issue with figuring out how we were going to cover all the time for the nurses.
So while we're working on that, yes, looking at this policy, we believe that the best way to do that is just as we would do with the teachers. And anytime there was an interruption of their unencumbered time, that we would make that up within the week. And that way they have their 30 minutes, that's structured. Mm-hmm. But if there's a cold blue or an allergic reaction, that they would respond, but it would be at that site to log those hours or those minutes so that they would be made up within is it the week or the
It's within the work week. And so when you look at our current nursing staff, they are non-exempt employees. So at the middle school and high school, they are 8-hour-a-day employees, but they're scheduled for 8.5. So we already have built in the 0.5 in the schedule to allow for that 30 minutes. And for intermediate and elementary schools, they're 7 or 7.5 hours a day, and we've built them in for 8 hours. And so the plan would be to handle it the way that we already have, to ensure that their schedule allows for that 30-minute build-in time. So that's something that we've already incorporated.
And you're able to ensure that there aren't meds that have to be delivered by a nurse to the student. There's a half-hour clear every day. Because sometimes we can't predict when those students are going to have to need those on a year-to-year basis.
To the fullest extent that we're aware, that is being done to the fullest extent practicable. When it's not, like all of our other hourly employees, we should be maintaining records of that to ensure appropriate compensation in compliance with those Fair Labor Standards Acts for our nurses.
Are we going to just give them a sign that they can flip on their door that says the nurses?
I'm going to ask Dr. Harris. He works more closely with Nurse Stanek for advice on approaching that.
I'm not sure if it's going to be a sign, Ms. Satterfield, but it is appropriately and properly communicated throughout the various schools when the nurse is stationed or the health room is under the unencumbered time. And so far to date, we've all been compliant. And again, we in emergency scenarios, those are being addressed. So there's no student who has a health concern or is being overlooked at any point in time. So the times that they have unencumbered are really for documentation, counting medications, IHP kind of documentation, things of that nature, which is very significant. But they make certain that all students are continue to be served throughout the process.
You know, I know they carry a radio with them, which is common sense, but if they're in a noisy place like the cafeteria or the gymnasium or something like that, again, this is going to be, you know, of all the things we're trying to do with this unencumbered time, the nurse is going to be a real critical one, for sure, anyway. Good luck with that, Dr. Harris.
So I don't know if we have something similar. My mom actually works for Aiken County Schools, and she's a UAP unlicensed assisted personnel. So basically, she can do the medication, she can do basic first aid and stuff like that. So there's no issues with lunches and so forth. So I don't know if we have a program or, you know, some sort of, they do safe school training, so they're fully aware. So that would take care of medications, and I don't know if that would help bridge that gap.
We do have a few nursing support assistants. We just don't have them at every school, but a part of the role of the nursing support assistant employees that we have sounds like it mirrors the capacity that you're speaking of. So we do have that, but just not right now at every school and location, but that's very helpful for us.
Anybody else? Thank you so much, Dr. Turner.
You're welcome.
Dr. Ross, you gonna lead this one?
All right, yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board and our community, wanted to bring a discussion. We've discussed this a little bit with the D-League, but I wanted to bring this up in terms of middle school co-curricular and extracurricular facilities. I did not want to make this seem like this was singular, but this is an issue that is multifaceted that I think we have an opportunity to take care of for our students. I want to open up with an email that I received on August 12th, 2025. It was during lunch. It says, "Good morning, Mr. Ross. Me and my friend know about the great things you have done for the school, like paint the cafeteria walls and cafeteria. Me and my friend met you at lunch today. Me and many other students want better recess equipment, or more things to do at recess, and a new Gaga pit. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful day." And I just thought, you know, for a student requesting things, this was just such a beautifully written letter that she did. She started out with an appreciation. I didn't do the cafeteria walls, nor, so it was Alan Knotts and your team and Dr. Gary for doing that. This young lady says thank you. I wrote back to her, says thank you so much for your email. I appreciate your advocacy for your school and classmates. I did meet with Mr. Brent, that's Mr. Brent Davis, about providing you a better resource area. After walking that area with him, I think that we have an opportunity to provide this young lady and her friends and her classmates something better than what they have. She replied August 13th at 11:33. I hope this is during lunch here, but thank you so much. I cannot wait to tell my friend. We've been trying to make it work since around the end of last year. Me and student 2 will do whatever is needed for this school and our classmates, and we knew after hearing what you did for the school cafeteria, again, shout out to operations for that, that you would be a great help. Again, thank you so much and have an amazing day. And I want you to see what she's talking about. She's a 5th grader at Chapin Intermediate. It will transition into Chapin Middle School. That means she will be there to her 8th grade year. But this is the area in which she references. And as I walked up with Brent Davis, I realized that in that area that's where the dirt is and the grass, there's also some other things that we got to navigate, some pipes that are there and what you speak. So that's the area that they have their recess. And so we started to look at not only this young lady's school and for her classmates, but what other middle schools would be faced with. But we felt like going back, these are, again, conceptuals of spaces that we can do to improve that area for them. We looked at Chapin Middle School, but this is the yard for middle school play at Chapin Middle School. It's really this area and then the kind of the walkway that they have. And again, we have an opportunity to provide them with better spaces to play and do than we currently have. Upgrading what we currently have at Crossroads Intermediate. You can see this is the play area that they have. This is what happens at lunch. You can see that, you know, where they are basically in a lot of our schools use kind of the driveways or the parent pickup loops or bus loops for their their recess. We are working on every elementary school playground, fall surfaces, equipment. But at middle school, it's a tough year of transition, and those kids need a place to kind of cut loose at lunch. And so Gaga pits are huge. You see in the picture right at Irmo Middle. I would say that Irmo Middle is probably in the best position of a site, but and what they have, but we feel like we can do better in terms of revamping the play spaces for our middle school students. They will now be there for 3 years, 6th, 7th, and 8th for all of our campuses, our 5 middle schools. And we just wanted to look at ways that we could conceptualize some better spaces for them. Going back to the Spring Hill Middle or Chapin Middle, we feel like with Spring Hill site next door, this would be a unique opportunity to put an inclusive play space for programs like the Screaming Eagles. I know we've talked a lot about that so that we can address the inclusivity issues. I talked to Alan. Alan feels that we would like to price out one at both ends of the district, inclusivity in Chapin at Spring Hill, but also in Irmo as well. So I think the toughest one is Dutch Fork. This is at the bus loop, and but it's one of my favorite videos because you see a little kid in the right just rolling down the hill. That's what they do. I know his mom is excited about laundry, but we feel like we can take that area and really improve it for those students. So again, what you're looking at, conceptuals. These are not priced out. These are just conceptuals. What we did with a program. It is the intent of the administration to bring to this body a permission to do A&E services for we call co-curricular. So that's recess, that's PE classes, that is anything that we're doing during the day, or athletics or extracurricular activities as well, after school opportunities for our middle schoolers so that we can address these sites. A&E would not commit us to building or actually doing the renovations, but it would give us a cost. It is our goal to have that in place before the capital campaign starts. We will look at options in our current capital, but I do want to kind of go back to Ms. Huddle's point of looking at that 5-year capital plan, because as you saw in Alan's presentation, being able to have a preventative maintenance plan is a good thing, to look at assignments in our capital plan so that when it comes time to replace 45 units so that we're not behind, that we can get ahead of the game. So again, our ask at the next meeting would be that we pursue A&E, looking at what this would be, looking at the cost, and then from there looking at finance options. It, again, does not require that we pursue it, but does give us some options to meet not only this young lady and her friend's request, but I think those of all of the middle school students in School District 5.
Ms. Barnhart?
Love that email, and if you had asked me what a Gaga pit was before this morning when myself and Mr. Bainham and Ms. Huddle went to Irmo, I would not have known. But I love the idea of getting them outside, and I'm curious, how long do the middle schoolers generally get to go outside? Because I'm assuming it's not as long as...
It's not as long as elementary school. Tim, I'm going to look to you to the school day or Ms. Tucker, who just finished middle school. How long is lunch?
I can give a little input on that since I worked at middle schools. But go ahead.
Recess is sort of built into the lunchtime of middle schoolers. It's not, on paper, they probably have about 20 minutes, but they really probably don't have 20 minutes.
first of all, I mean, I think that the kids do need some more things. The Gaga pit at Irmo Middle was cool, and obviously these kids really like that. The only concern I have is that some of these things are a lot more expensive to maintain than others. Like I would think a football field would be a whole lot more expensive to maintain than a Gaga pit. And I worry that capital, and I'm not saying it's like we have tons of it, but we have capital funds, and we can do a lot of things with capital funds, but certain capital funds turn into maintenance funds. And then when it becomes maintenance, it's literally a choice between either it comes out of the classroom, like the tutoring and things, or we have to do a tax increase. And so I would just hope that maybe we walk before we run, and maybe start with some projects like the Gaga pits, other things that maybe kids can do in a 20-minute period that aren't going to be a big drain on the maintenance side of it going forward. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think one of the things we're looking at is all the spaces that you see are currently within the footprint to be maintained, and they're past their opportunity to be maintained. I think that's kind of the issues that we dealt with when Alan first came on. I'm bragging on you for a little bit. He introduced us to a concept called run to fail, and I think that's been the strategy for our district for a long time. We just buy it and we run until it runs out. You see that with the 15 years. That's not one person's issue. It's just kind of, we put it in and we don't have a preventative maintenance plan. I think that's what the young lady is talking about, is that we try to do things and we can't sustain it. I'm just talking about kind of a very robust way of looking at it. I think field maintenance is tough. Turf maintenance is kind of that one thing that we can put in, assign capital for 10 years, and then slowly put in at it. I told the team I got to put a roof on the house. We've been working on that for the last 5 years, putting money away so you can handle that big expenditure. So I agree. I think, in 20 minutes, we need to address those pieces, like the new Gaga pits, basketball courts, Foursquare, those things. But we have current spaces that those kids need maintained, and I think we could look at a capital expenditure that would be something that improve the current grounds that we have. And then the last thing I'll say is we never want to confuse the capital with the operation sides. So tutoring, the things that we're going to do, tier 2, tier interventions, those will never be on the capital side.
Yeah, just a couple of things. One of the things, being an old PE teacher, when I visit schools, I look at their playground, I look at their outside facilities. At Chapin Elementary School years ago, they had the school park agreement, and this Crooked Creek built all the fields out there for nothing, and as long as they could use them. And I don't know if that is an option to look at to maybe help, with the cost. When I look at some of those playgrounds and things, if the kids have 10 minutes or they have 30 minutes, they ought to have a basketball court that doesn't have holes in the courts. I mean, some of them are just so old and cracked, and and then some of them are so confined because of the allotment that they have for the kids. If you go, I ride my bike sometimes, and I go through I'll go to the CIS school through there, and it looks like they've got everybody in the whole school crowded in this one little fenced-in area. It is tight as a drum. But I think that, upgrading those playground opportunities for the kids. The other thing I wanted to mention was, and I brought this up before, is the thing with the Screaming Eagles, and I really think there needs to be a partnership with the folks that are involved with that right now, and they can help lead us. If you're a physical education teacher, there's something called adaptive adaptive PE, and that's for those students who have some sort of disability, and it's a special curriculum. But when looking at, again, Spring Hill might be the perfect place for such a thing, or at least for the beginning phase of this. But I think there really should be a good time spent before we spend any money on that, but get the parents involved and get their input, because some of those, the Screaming Eagle said, been going on for several years now. And and the last thing I wanted to say was, I really like the idea of, and I'm not saying building stadiums at middle schools, but even having a field where the kids, it's their school. It is their school while they're there, and they take ownership in that, and then they take more pride in their school, and their behavior is better. Everything that shows that we're supporting them, impacts a lot of what they do and how they behave. And like I say, we could just throw in some, if we had a field and we throw in some metal bleachers, and parents could bring chairs, their own lawn chairs, and sit along the sidelines or whatever. But I do like the discussion. I guess that's what I want to say. I like the discussion, and as I said, for the children that have disabilities, they should not be traveling to another county for their activities. We should have paid coaches. We should have paid individuals that support that program for those kids, for those children, because again, that's something that I think we're lacking. But I'm glad that we're having this discussion.
Scott?
Same thing, and I just want to say that it's been a long time since any of us were in middle school, and one thing adults are not always good at is predicting what the kids want or need. And so I would encourage you, please ask them, because Dr. Ross, I know one 10-year-old little girl who would tell you, and she did tell you, this is not what she would want. There are other things that I think we need to think about that these kids need to, sensory rooms, places where they can be quiet and not be inundated with activity and sensory overload. So if we're going to do this, let's try to make sure we do it for all the kids too.
Yeah, I agree. I think like a school survey, ask the kids with, we have limited funds as a district. Like, what's your top 3? What do you want? Do you want tetherball courts? Because like with Dutch Fork Middle, our daughter's there, and other ones that we've been a part of, the PTO groups are super involved, and they're looking for ways to, give these kids, ways to blow off steam. So how can we support the PTOs? They can't necessarily do anything with that large bus loop because you got to kind of grade it and to do anything with that. So that's kind of out of a PTO realm. But they raise money for like tetherballs. We just got to figure out, is that going to be something that we're ready for? But I think there's definitely a lot of cool opportunities for them.
I think we can start off with that survey of knowing those things that they would like. I think to your point, what you see at middle school lunch is a crowd. And you see everyone from those who race after the basketballs to those who sit in the corner. And I think having a space in place for everyone is really what we're looking for. I'm sorry, Ms. Tucker.
I was just going to say, to your point, Dr. Herring, I want to say that at least the middle school I came from, I know had that accommodations for those students that didn't want to be outside in the chaos. They had opened up to the stage and had some fluffy chairs, so those that wanted to read or crochet could spend their 10 minutes inside in the quiet. And so I will say that our schools are doing that. So.
Anybody else?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? The motion carries 6-0. Y'all have a good night.